Hello and welcome to another episode of PrayerJOY. I'm Jeanne and I'd like to share with you some of my personal and family experiences in our prayer life. The Bible records that God doesn't want anyone to be lost. In fact, He longs for all of us to return to Him, to trust the one who created us. We observe something of this reunion between Jesus and His disciples. And Andrew Murray, in his book, With Christ in the School of Prayer, describes the nature of this relationship. For 3 years they watched as Jesus taught and touched, healed, fed, or even delivered those who came to Him for help. But at the end, the request of the disciples was remarkable. "Rabbi, will you teach us to pray?" Prayer has always been incredibly important, and Jesus would often withdrew from the crowd to spend time alone with His Father. I think the disciples noticed this connection between Him being in secret, seeking His Father's presence, but also having authority in public. And they wanted to know what is the connection between being alone with God and being equipped for ministry. Jesus then answers them, "I do only what I see my Father is busy with, and to do His will is my bread." In Hebrews, we learn that Jesus is still busy with the same ministry. He's interceding for us at the right hand of the Father. But He also made a beautiful promise. As the bridegroom, He returned to His Father's home to prepare places for us. I believe that the home is designed by God to be one such place where we can have a foretaste of heaven, but it would require commitment and a very trusting environment so that people can grow in their relationships with God and with one another. In this regard, I appreciate the quote by C.S. Lewis, "The homemaker is the ultimate career. All other careers have only one purpose, and that is to serve the homemaker." In my opinion, the role of parents, mothers and fathers have been questioned and debated very roughly recently. And yet, God has actually given significant, important or influence of parents over their children. Like Jesus, we should cultivate our relationship with Him and then guide our children to their Heavenly Father. In my opinion, this requires quite a bit of discipline and sacrificial time spent with our Father alone. How do we make best use of this time alone? I think that there's both spontaneity and structure required for this. I've always enjoyed the privilege of regular exercise, but I also know that if I don't keep to the discipline, I will pay a price. If it's wet and rainy and windy and I don't want to go, I will lose fitness. It is the same in the physical as in the spiritual. As a family, we've often tried to involve our children in our own prayer walk, and in this way we would do creative ways to just make it easier for the children. We created prayer cards for different topics of each day of the week, and we could actually work through quite a long list of names, needs, or ministries. Another very helpful tool in our prayer time was to use the beautifully illustrated children's prayer books. They introduced unreached people groups with beautiful information and pictures. I guess one area of the prayer life that could lead to legalism would be prayer or the discipline of fasting and prayer. In nature, we count on and we welcome the rhythm and the regularity. Shouldn't it be the same in our prayer life? Often, fasting also gives us the opportunity to humble ourselves before the Lord, or to bring matters that are of sincere or earnest importance to us. When we hear teaching or testimony like this or others, it could inspire us, or we can become competitive, or we can compare, and of course that wouldn't be helpful. Somebody said, if you are working on what you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision draws yourself. So in conclusion, what should be our vision and our inspiration? I believe our oldest brother, Jesus, is our safe and very trustworthy example. As we follow Jesus, we are co-heirs with him, of whom the Father said, "This is my beloved Son, I'm well pleased with him." Let us join Jesus in his ministry of prayer.